Okay, so for today, we're going to be looking at ethnic otherness versus cultural assimilation, U.S. Latino comedians, and the politics of identity. The source I'm using was written by Guillermo Avila Saavedra in May of 2011, but many of the key points are still relevant today in today's Latino society. What we will be looking at is how do Latinos address the tensions between ethnic identity and assimilation into U.S. culture in the mainstream and the rewards that are offered. How does Spanish show intimacy and solidarity across Latinidad, but has lower has a lower class associated with it? Assimilation has its rewards of money and power. Um, and then the writer uses basically the identity of Latino comedians through history, primarily from the 1950s, the advent of television, to the modern day, to show how Latinidad has struggled with the advantages and disadvantages of choices that they have to make regarding assimilation into American culture. Um, Primarily, initially, they start out talking about Ricky Ricardo and Jose Jimenez, who's not specifically mentioned, but is along the same line. They were kind of the Latino buffoon. People pretty much laughed at them, not with them. So in the 1950s, 60s, this was the identity of a Latino comedian. He was just, the guy everybody made fun of. Did not speak English well, had poor command of the language, was very emotional, and portrayed as simple minded. Did not have a lot of opportunities afforded to them. They were kind of the foil to base the jokes on. Then we transition towards um, Freddie Prinze Sr. In Chico and the Man, which was again a Latino man working for an angry, displaced Anglo, and kind of the culture conflict between the Latin and white cultures of the time in the 70s. Then more modernly, we talk. It talks about George Lopez, who's kind of like Joe, everyday American, but in Latino society. He has a middle class job, a wife, a family, and is struggling for success, and also affords opportunity for his children to become successful in American culture. He in the show he balances it with the nod to his Latino background, in that the mother-in-law she only speaks Spanish, which is subtitled. He throws in quite a bit of usage of Spanish language, and he has a strong family value, which is represented in the show. And then we can move over to Freddie Prinze Jr., who is considered to be sort of a comedy legacy because of the activity of his father and himself. His show was promoting Latin values, um, by use of the family language and assimilation and cultures. Um, how the he lived in a close knit uh, household, where he valued interaction with the families. It was more based on Latin values than assimilation. Also discussed in this is the kind of the difference of recognizing one's own otherness. So the Latino community recognizes that, hey, we are different. We are not mainstream. We want to keep that value within our families. And how does that hold them back? How does um, being predominantly Spanish speaking or fluent Spanish speakers, how does that hold you back in mainstream society? Um, and in the view of by Latin media of the pan ethnic culture, in that Latin being a generic term for all persons of all Latin descent, because they speak Spanish, the one commonality, um, modern American media, or actually, I'm sorry, modern um, Spanish speaking media comes across or presents Spanish speaking people as a monolithic culture where, for simplicity and profitability, all Latins are presented as a monolithic group, when in reality, the individuals do not see themselves that way. They still have individual cultural identities that they bring with them to America that they want to honor while they're in America. And how do they balance the speaking Spanish, having the large family, with strong ties to the old country? How do they balance that, which is considered to be a less powerful um, position in society, to those Latin people who come here and assimilate, learning command of the English language, taking advantage of education, and also being able to get more money and power and decisions that are made in the future. So the reading that you'll be reading today will be showing that struggle of loyalty to family, culture, and the past versus assimilation into an American society, uh, which has a lower expectation for family values and potentially can offer more success or acceptance in American culture.